The problem of not having a shared public myth is that everything is up for grabs for being anointed with that status without a clear depiction of God as ideals, God as shared standards. Then why not just pursue fame? Why not just pursue coke if nothing means anything anyway? With regard to your sort of inquiry about the nature of sort of public life, for me, the older I get, the more I recognise it was an unsophisticated attempt, as perhaps all early grasps at the Grail must be, of trying to heal the seminal wound of seeking some kind of value, of trying to impose some kind of myth in a mythless world, some pursuit, something of value to chase after, and then increasingly discovering as various points in the journey were arrived at that it couldn't fulfill me, in this constant requirement for more, than no way of healing that wound, not materially at least.
Jung pointed out, for example, he believed that the book of Revelations had been tacked onto the New Testament because the Christ in the Gospels was portrayed too much as a figure of mercy, whereas in Revelation, Christ is portrayed primarily as a judge. And Jung's explanation for that was that every ideal is a judge, and the ultimate ideal is the ultimate judge. And you could say the ultimate ideal judges your soul, and because that's virtually the definition of the ultimate ideal. And so the ultimate ideal is something transcendent and divine that judges your soul. Now, what that means about the way the universe is constituted, again, I have no idea, but the higher the ideal, the more severe the judge. That's clearly the case. And that should make you quake, I think. It does when your conscience assaults you in the middle of the night for things that you've done wrong. It's because you're quaking in your boots morally because you failed to live up to this ideal. And there's no escape from that. Not truly. I don't believe there is. The ideal that we're all chasing, we don't know what its ultimate reality is. You know, if you have an instinct towards further development, we don't know the limits to what that currently greater could be. And that's where the idea of mentorship, let's say, shades into something like religious worship, because I suppose if you think about the Christian world, the ultimate mentor is Christ. And you could say that being a Christian, or you could say that being a psychologist. And if you said it being a psychologist, you would say, well, it's by definition that the ultimate mentor is Christ. And what Christianity has been, as it unfolds itself over the last 2,000 years, is an attempt to engage all of the people within that belief system in a dialogue about what that ideal actually constitutes. You know, and there's tradition that feeds into that, the biblical stories and the corpus of tradition that goes along with that, but all of it is a collective attempt to specify that ideal so that people can use it as a target to further their development. And that's not delusional.
How does this transition between an Old Testament version of God that requires of us to become good, that God itself or himself or herself is also good, how does this idea, this interpretation of our relationship with God, this Old Testament which places this sort of obligation that sort of punishes Job for his phatic impersonation of worship, how does that evolve into the Christian idea of Christ as the perfect mentor, Christ as the perfect
Why
emblem?
Don't you ask a difficult question? Jesus. Well, you know, Jung talks about this a fair bit in Answer to Job. And that's a very difficult book to summarize, and it's also a very terrifying book. But the upshot of it is essentially something like this, which is that whatever God is, the best element of him can plausibly be brought forth as a consequence of the manifestation of what's best in us. And that might be the willingness to sacrifice and the willingness to trust and the courage to love your neighbor, the courage to love your enemy. If you acted as if God was love, if you believed that, and that would be manifest in your perceptions and your actions, that would invite the deity of love into existence. And that's true. You know that when you interact with people with love, and there's a tremendous courage in that, it makes the world a better place. And we don't know how deep that reaches. No, it certainly reaches as deep as humanity itself, and is there something transcendently real about it beyond that? Who knows? Who knows? It's that's a far enough target for anyone, as far as I'm concerned. That was a hell of a question, Russell.